Now we'll start with our 2.1 topic, Prasthantrayi, Purushartha Chatushtay and goals of human life. Now what is Prasthantrayi? प्रस्थान मतलब अभी कहीं जाना है, या हम कभी बस स्टैंड में या रेलवे स्टेशन पे रुकते हैं तो जब अनाउंसमेंट होता है कि प्लेटफॉर्म नंबर 4 पे आने वाली गाड़ी प्रस्थान कर रही है. प्रस्थान मीन्स टू मूव, जाना, कहीं किसी और जाना. So here Prasthantrayi is formed from two words, Prasthana and Trayi. So what is Prasthana? Is source of authority or institute of Vedantic teaching, and Trayi means three. Which are these three authorities? One is the Upanishad, second is the Bhagavad Gita, and third is Brahma Sutras or Vedanta Sutras. Now Trayi means the three, the sacred scriptures of Sanatan Dharma. Pra means prime, Sthana means position, and Prasthanatrayi means together is the three sacred scriptures of Sanatan Dharma occupying the prime positions. And now these three are refers to the canonical text of theology, especially of Vedanta schools. And it consists of Upanishad, which is also known as Upadesh Prasthana, Shruti Prasthana, and especially this is the principal Upanishads. Second is Brahma Sutras. It is known as Sutra Prasthana or Nyaya Prasthana or Yukti Prasthana. Third one is the Bhagavad Gita, which is known as Sadhan Prasthana, which is the practical text, and Smriti Prasthana. Now what is the Shruti and Smriti? We'll see in the next slide. So Prasthanatrayi, Shruti Prasthana means hearing the Upanishads, which comes मतलब परंपरागत जो आते हैं गुरु से शिष्य की तरफ जो ट्रांसफर होता है वो है श्रुति प्रस्थाना. Smriti Prasthana, Shruti Prasthana is Upanishads, which are Vedic instructions. Second is Smriti Prasthana, means remembrance of Bhagavad Gita, Puranas, and Mahabharata are Smriti Prasthana. Then third one is Nyaya Prasthana or logic. Vedanta Sutras or Brahma Sutras are Nyaya Prasthana. Smriti Prasthana indicates the ultimate goal of life, and Nyaya Prasthana are the logical texts that are set forth the philosophy and systematically. Now here the commentaries on Brahma Sutra or Vedanta Sutra are described in the table. So these first column shows the who has written the commentary, that is Adi Sankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Vallabhacharya, Nimbaraka, and Baldev Vidyabhushana. And their schools and the Bhashya they have written is mentioned here. So Adi Shankaracharya had Advaita Skula, he had written Sharir Bhashya. Then Ramanujacharya has Vishishta Advaita Skula, Shri Bhashya. Sri Madhvacharya Dvaita Skula has Purna Prajna Bhashya. Vallabhacharya had Shuddha Advaita Skula, has written Anubhashya. Nimbaraka has written Dvaita School, and he had written Vedanta Parijata Saurabh. Baldev Vidyabhushan, Achintya Bheda Bhed Tattva, and he has written Govinda Bhashya. Now we'll start with the Upanishad. So Sanskrit word Upanishad, it is formed from three words, Upa, Ni, and Shad, which means that sitting down near, that is Shishya is sitting near Guru and gaining the knowledge. That is student sitting down near the teacher and receiving the spiritual knowledge from Guru Mukha. And Upanishad means setting to rest ignorance by revealing the knowledge of the Supreme Spirit. Now Adi Shankaracharya explains in his commentary on Katha and Brihadaranyaka Upanishad that the word of Atma Vidya, that is knowledge of self, or Brahma Vidya, that is knowledge of Brahma. The word appears in the verses of many Upanishads, such as 4th verse of 13th volume of 1st chapter of Chandogya Upanishad. Now here is a picture of Vyasa Maharshi, who is the, according to tradition, composed the Upanishads. Now main Upanishad, there are 108 texts of Upanishads, out of which 12, some have written said 10, some have 12, said 12, or 13 are the major texts out of total 108. But most of them have enlisted as 10 as the main Mukhya Upanishads. The names are Isha Upanishad, Ken Upanishad, Katha Upanishad, Prashna Upanishad, Mundak Upanishad, Manduk Upanishad, Aitareya, Chandogya, and Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Then Bhagavad Gita is part of Mahabharata. That is in the Bhishma Parva of Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita is written. Then Brahma Sutra is also known as Vedanta Sutra, the systemized doctrines taught in the Upanishads and Gita. The founder of major schools of Vedanta, Adi Shankaracharya and Madhvacharya, whose bhashyas on this are written on this text. Ramanujacharya did not write any bhashya on the Upanishad, but he has written bhashyas on Brahma Sutra and Bhagavad Gita. So no study of Vedanta is considered complete without a close examination of Prasthanatrayi. Now, Upanishads are the late Vedic Sanskrit text of the religious teachings and form the foundation of Hinduism. The most recent part of Vedas and the oldest scripture of Hinduism deals with the meditation, philosophy, and ontological knowledge. The other parts of Vedas deal with mantras, benediction, rituals, ceremonies, and sacrifices. Among the most important literature in the history of Indian religion and culture. And Upanishads play an important role in development of spiritual ideas in ancient India and marking the transition from Vedic ritualism to new ideas and institutions. Now, of all the Vedic literature, Upanishads are widely known for their central ideas on spiritual core of Hinduism. Now, Upanishads are commonly referred as Vedanta. Because when last chapters of Vedas are part of Vedas are Upanishads, and this object is the highest purpose, and the alternative object that is highest purpose of Vedas.
Okay, what is meant by Ved? Ved, it is coming from Ved. Ved means to know. This word will be asked in as a question. ऐसा प्रश्न आ सकता है कि what is meant by Ved and Ved? Ved means to know.
No.
Jnana, knowledge. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Please continue.
Now, in Upanishads, some terminologies are given, Brahman and Atman. So what is Brahman is the ultimate reality, and Atman is the soul or self or a person. And the central ideas in all Upanishads that know that you are an Atman is there the thematic focus. Along with Bhagavad Gita and Brahma Sutras, the Mukhya Upanishads are known as Prasthantari, and they provide the foundation of several later schools of Vedanta. We have seen this. Mukhya Upanishads mostly found in the concluding part of Brahmanas and Aranyakas, and for centuries they memorized by the generation and passed down orally. This is Veda, Shakha and Upanishad Association. Rig Veda has only one recension, and Shakha is called as Shakala Shakha, and Upanishad, principal Upanishad is Aitareya Upanishad. Sam Veda has also one recension. The Shakhas are Kautuma Shakha, Jaimini, Ranayani Shakha, Katha, and Ranayani. And the principal Upanishad are Chandogya Upanishad and Kena Upanishad. Of Yajurved has two shakhas, Krishna Yajurved and recension, and Shukla Yajurved. And they have Krishna Yajurved has Katha, Taittiriya, Maitrayani, Hiranyakeshi and Kathaka shakhas. And main principal Upanishad are Katha Upanishad and Taittiriya Upanishad. And of Shukla Yajurveda, Vajasaneya, Madhyandina, Kanva Shakha. And Isha and Brihadaranyaka Upanishad are principal Upanishads of Yajurveda. And Atharva Veda has two recensions, Shaunaka and Pippalada. Shaunaka has Manduka and Mundak Upanishad, and Pippala Shaka has Prashna Upanishad. Now this Veda and Veda having number of Upanishads. So Rig Veda has 10 Upanishads, Samveda has 16, Krishna Yajurveda has 32, Shukla Yajurveda has 19. Just a minute. Atharva Veda has 31 Upanishads. So all these Mukhya Upanishads are highlighted here in yellow. Aitareya, Kaushataki, Chandogya and Ken Upanishad. Krishna Yajurveda has Taittiriya, Katha Upanishad, Shweta Shwetar and Maitrayani. Shukla Yajurveda has Brihadaranyaka and Isha Upanishad. Atharva Veda has Mundaka and Mandukya and Prashna Upanishad. So all these have Mukhya, Samanya, Sannyasa, Shakta, Vaishnava, Shaiva and Yoga. These are all followers, and as per them, the description is given in the table. Now here Brahman and Atman, these are two concepts. Atman means the self and Brahman is the ultimate reality. And Atman is the individual soul, individual self. Now Brahman, what is the characteristic of Brahman is material, efficient, formal and final cause of all that exists. And it is pervasive, genderless, infinite. It is the eternal truth and bliss and has no change. But it is cause of all the changes. So Brahman is infinite soul, fabric, core, and destiny of all existence, both manifested and unmanifested from the universe, and the word Atman means the inner soul, that is immortal spirit in every individual and all living beings including animals, trees. And Atman, the central idol in all Upanishads, and know your Atman is the thematic focus, which is explained in the Upanishads. Now, what is reality and what is Maya? The Upanishads describe this universe and the human experience as an interplay of Purush, that is the eternal unchanging principles and consciousness, whereas Prakriti is the temporary changing material world of the nature, and which former manifests as Atman, and the latter is Maya, that is Purush is Atman, and which is Prakriti is Maya, which is always changing. And this Upanishad refers that Atman as the true knowledge or Vidya, and the knowledge of Maya are not the true knowledge, that is Avidya, that is lack of awareness and the lack of true knowledge. So Maya means the world, it is not which as seems, means जैसे हम देखते हैं वैसा नहीं होता. जगत मिथ्या, ब्रह्म सत्य, जगत मिथ्या ऐसे बताया गया है. So whatever we see in our nature is changing, it's not permanent. So Maya not only deceives people about the things they think they know, more basically it limits their knowledge. So in Upanishads, Maya is perceived as changing reality and it coexists with Brahman, which is hidden true or reality. Maya or illusion is an important idea in Upanishads because the text asserts that in human pursuit of blissful and liberating self-knowledge, and Maya obscures and confuses, distracts an individual. Now, Vedas is considered of having two portions, Karma Kanda, that is portion dealing with actions or rituals, and Jnana Kanda, that is portion dealing with the knowledge. So, Samhita and Brahmanas represent Karma Kanda or ritual portion, whereas Upanishad represent the Jnana Kanda or the knowledge portion that is given in the Vedas. So Upanishads are included in Shruti Granthas. They represent the most popular and extensively read as Vedic text. Now this is Koham, 3 steps ladder to the salvation of Jnana Marga, which is given in the Gita. Koham means who am I? Naham, I am not the body. So Koham is a Jnatum. Jnatum means to know. Naham, Drashtum means to see. And Pravesham means to enter, to enjoy. For this, an example is given. So when we see an apple, we get the knowledge about it. When we eat, we experience the taste, we experience the taste of the apple, and we enjoy it eating the apple when the apple is digested and merged into you. So that is pravesham. So God and you, these are dvaita. God is inside you, that is vishishta advaita. And God and man are one, is advaita. So there are 3 concepts given, that Dvaitavad, Advaitavad and Vishishta Advaitavad. Dvaitavad consider God and self is 2 different things. Vishishta Advaitavad consider God and Atman is the same. So Dvaitavad says that I am messenger of God, whereas Vishishta Advaitavad says son of God, and Advaitavad says me and father are the same thing. Now, Srimad Bhagavat. Bhagavat is what? The song by God, often referred to as Gita. Gita, it is 700 verses, part of epic Mahabharata, 23 to 40 chapters of Bhishma Parva, dated to the first millennium BC, and it is considered as the main holy scriptures for Hinduism. So Gita in the title of Bhagavad Gita means the song, the religious song. Many religious leaders and scholars interpret the word Bhagavad in the number of ways. So they say the word of God by the Theisic schools, the word of Lord, the divine song, the celestial song. So these are various names given to Bhagavad Gita. In Sanskrit, it is written as Srimad Bhagavad Gita. There is Srimad here. The reference refers to as the prefix to given to Bhagavad Gita. That is high degree of respect for the song Bhagavad Gita. And often it is confused with Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam, which is Purana dealing with life of Hindu god Krishna and various avatars of Vishnu. The word Bhagavad Gita is also referred as Ishwar Gita, Ananta Gita, Hari Gita, Vyas Gita, or simply Gita. Now, Gita is set in a narrative frame of dialogue between Pandav prince Arjuna and his guide or charioteer Krishna, an avatar of Lord Vishnu. And it starts at the start of Dharma Yuddha, the righteous war between Pandav and Kauravas. Here, Arjuna is filled with moral dilemma. Because of his relatives, his guide, his great grandfather, all the relatives are in front of him with whom he has to have a war. So for this, in despair about violence and death of war will cause the battle against his own kin. So for that, he renounced and seeks Krishna's counsel, and answers and discourse constitute for Bhagavad Gita. So at that time, Krishna explains him what is the Kshatriya Dharma, what is selfless action, and what is the need of the time for him. Here, Krishna explains the Arjuna. Now, this Bhagavad Gita is written by God Ganesha as told to him by Vyas Rishi. Now, what is structure of Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad Gita is a poem written in Sanskrit language and it's 700 verses. It is structured in several ancient poetic meters. and the principal being the shlok is called as Anushtup Chanda. It has 18 chapters in total, and each shlok consists of a couplet. Thus, the entire text consists of 1,400 lines. Each shloka has 2 quarter verses and exactly 8 syllables. And these quarters is further arranged into 2 metric feet of 4 syllables each. The metered verses does not rhyme, while the shlok in the principal meter in Gita does not deploy other elements of Sanskrit prosody. So total in 18 chapters, first is Arjuna Vishada Yoga has 47 verses, Sankhya Yoga 72 verses, Karma Yoga 43 verses, Jnana Yoga 42 verses, Karma Sannyas Yoga 29 verses, Atma Sanyam Yoga 47 verses, Vijnana Yoga 30 verses, Parabrahma Yoga 28 verses, Raja Vidya Raja Guhya Yoga 34 verses, Vibhuti Vistara Yoga 42 verses, Vishwarupa Darshan Yoga 55 verses, Bhakti Yoga 20 verses, Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga 34 verses, Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga 27 verses, Purushottam Prapti Yoga 20 verses, Dvaita Daiva Sura Sampada Vibhag Yoga 24 verses,
दैव
Shraddhatraya Vibhaga Yoga,
दैव असुर संपत्ति विभाग
Daiva Asura Sampad Vibhaga Yoga 24 verses, Shraddhatraya Vibhaga Yoga 28 verses, Moksha Sannyasa Yoga 78 verses. So total in all 700 verses and 18 chapters. Now the chapter 1 to 6 explains the Karma Yoga, means the final goal. 7 to 12 chapters are Bhakti Yoga or devotion, and 13 to 18 chapter describes Jnana Yoga or knowledge and the goal itself. Now Brahma Sutras. The teachings of Vedanta are set forth in the systematic and logic order, and the Brahma Sutra are known by many names as Vedanta Sutra, Uttar Mimamsa Sutra, Sharirik Sutra, and Bhikshu Sutra. And in Indian tradition, it identifies Bhadra and the author of Brahma Sutra with Vyas and the compiler of Vedas. Many commentaries have been written on this text, and the earliest extant of one being one by Adi Shankaracharya. The later commentators include Bhaskar, Yadav Prakash, Ramanuja, Keshav, Nilakantha, Madhav, Baldev, Vallabhacharya, Vijnana Bhikshu, Vachaspati, and Padmapada. All these and other commentaries, the Shankaracharya, Adi Shankaracharya commentary is considered as the model exemplary. Now, Brahma Sutra consists of 555 aphorism or sutras, and it is divided into 4 chapters. And first chapter is Samanvaya, that is harmony. Samanvaya, that is harmony, explains that all Vedic text talks of Brahman are and the ultimate reality, that is goal of life. Second chapter is Avirodha, that is non-conflict, discusses and refutes the possible objections against Vedanta philosophy. Third chapter is Sadhana, means the means, that describes the process by which ultimate emancipation can be achieved. And the fourth chapter is Phala, that is the fruit, talks of the state that is achieved in final emancipation. So these are, each adhyaya has 4 padas, and these are total number of adhyayas given in each pada. So total 555 chapters. Now next we will move on to the Purushartha Chatushtaya. So these are 4 Purusharthas, that is, and Chatushtaya means 4. Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. So Purushartha is a composite Sanskrit word, consists of Purusha and Artha. Purusha means the primeval human being as a soul and original source of the universe. And Artha here means context, means the purpose, object of desire. And together means the purpose of human being or object of human pursuit. And it is also referred to as Chaturvarga. Now, Purushartha is a key concept in Hinduism, which holds every human has four properties, goals that are necessary for sufficient for fulfilling happy life. These four are Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. Dharma means the righteous moral values. Artha means prosperity, economic values. Kama means pleasure, love, psychological values, and Moksha is liberation, spiritual values. The Purusha here means either God or human being. Artha means purpose and object, and Purushartha means objectives of a person or a human being, not only in physical sense but an individual soul or self in the purest undifferentiated aspect. So Purushartha is applicable to both men and women equally. Now let's move on to the first Purushartha, that is Dharma. The first goal is Dharma, the word in which is difficult to translate in English, but since the same word in many Eastern religions, it means that many things to many people and eludes a true definition. It is translated as duty, faith, religion, righteous, sacred law, justice, ethics, and morality. So, according to the one school of Hinduism, Dharma is an obligatory duty as prescribed by Vedas to be performed by an individual in accordance with the rules prescribing for caste to which he or she belongs. God is an upholder of Dharma because he performs his duty even though they are not obligatory and he without desire or preference. So like dharma means a farmer खेती का काम करता है वो उसका धर्म है जो भिक्षु है या जो ज्ञानी है वो वेद का या ज्ञानार्जन का काम करता है जो शिकारी है वो शिकार का काम करता है तो ऐसे जो भी भगवान ने हमको काम दिया है जो भी हम वी हैव बीन असाइंड सम ड्यूटी so that we perform is dharma.
Whatever the duties given by God, someone is doing housewife work or anyone engineer or police, military man, anyone, that is the duty. Duty means you have to do your own work in this planet.
There is no word in English, but still Dharitri from the letter the, dhatu the, and the first letter of Dharitri of the earth. So which is suggestive of connection with the earth or earthly life. And in wider sense, Dharma is the sacred glue, the binding force, which upholds and regulates the entire creation, just as the gravitational force controls and holds the entire material universe as one piece. So it is a divine constitution that defines our roles and responsibilities, our social and moral order, our purpose and goals, and the rewards and the punishments that are appropriate for our action. And it is the law of God that is sacred, inviolable, and pervasive. It is responsible for order, regularity, harmony, control, predicability, and accountability. So according to Manusmriti, Dharma is four-footed in Krita Yoga and loses one leg in each successive age. And thus in the fourth or last age of Kali, it becomes crippled and rests upon one leg. कैसे बताया जाता है कि चार जो युग है तो उसमें सतयुग में चार पाद धर्म रहता है कृतयुग त्रेता युग में 3 पाद धर्म 1 पाद पाप उसके बाद द्वापर युग में 2 पाद धर्म 2 पाद का पाप और जैसे कली युग में आता है तो 1 पाद धर्म और 3 पाद पाप रहता है. Now the sources of dharma are Vedas, the Vedangas and the Sutras, literature of which the most important are Dharma Shastras and the scriptures such as Bhagavad Gita. So these play an important role in guiding the people on the path of dharma. However, it is difficult to say how far they are relevant in the present age. So one should remember that dharma should not be viewed as end in itself, but the means of still higher end is liberation. Now next is Artha. Artha signifies the means of life, the activities and resources that enables one to be in a state one wants to be in. So Artha incorporates wealth, career, activity to make a life, to make a living, financial security and economic prosperity. So the proper pursuit of Artha is considered an important aim of life. So seeking wealth through human action is not discouraged, but Vedic hymns are mostly invocation addressed to the god and goddesses by the men desiring wealth and prosperity. And they also emphasize the need of right intention, right means, and moderation in the pursuit of wealth. So aiming for wealth is virtue. अर्थार्जन ये जरूरी है जीवन के लिए, लेकिन हमें ज्यादा ग्रीडीनेस नहीं होना चाहिए, मुझे वो चाहिए. So we should control our greed. So amassing wealth for family and for welfare of oneself is not sinful, but taking what belongs to others is sinful. जो अपरिग्रह पतंजलि में बताया गया है, यही यहाँ पे बताया. Now kama. Kama signifies desire, wish, passion, emotions, pleasure of senses, the aesthetic enjoyment of life, affection or love, with or without sexual connotation. Kama as love without violating dharma, artha, and one's journey towards moksha. Kama in broader sense means desire, and in narrow sense is only sexual desire. Both Hinduism and Buddhism consider desire as the root cause of human sufferings. According to Bhagavad Gita, desire leads to delusion and bondage to the cycle of births and deaths. The way of sufferings is to become detached from the sense objects through such practices as yoga, meditation, and perform desireless action and sacrificial offerings to God with a sense of duty, accepting God as doer, and without hankering after the fruits of one's action. So according to Manusmriti, man performs sacrifices because of the desires for rewards with expectations, and his action will bear fruit. Not a single act of him here on the earth appears ever be done by human free from desire. So we must perform his prescribed duties in the right manner to obtain the fulfillment of the desire and reach the deathless state on even beyond that. As we can see, the right way to fulfill one's desire is performing one's obligatory duties in the right manner and not by neglecting them. So the way of dharma also becomes way the fulfillment of desire. Last is moksha. Moksha signifies the emancipation, liberation or release. And moksha is freedom from samsara, the cycle of life, death and rebirth. So in the other school, moksha connotes freedom, self-knowledge, self-realization and liberation in the life. Moksha is both a purushartha and paramartha, and is important for not only for men but also for divine beings. Moksha means absence of moha or delusion, and the activity of senses attached with the desire for the sense objects. Now, when we can achieve liberation, when we increase the quality of sattva, suppressing rajas and tamas, and overcomes one's desires, sense objects by detachment, self-control, surrender to God, and offering one's action to God. And there are many paths of salvation, of them lead to God. So it is said that whatever action we do, at last we have to say that Krishna Arpanamastu. So whatever deeds we do, that is offered to Lord Krishna. So the main path are the paths of knowledge, action, devotion, and renunciation. And each path has its own advantage and disadvantage. So whatever may be the path, the help and guidance of Guru is indispensable to one's life journey. And Guru is God in human form, whose chief purpose is to remove the darkness and hidden in the hearts and minds of his disciples and help him to find the true selves. So moksha is the mantra for liberation, self-liberation. Now, what is the purpose of Purushartha? The purpose of Purushartha is to ensure that people would not neglect their obligatory duties in their deluded state by becoming obsessed with their obligatory duties in deluded state by becoming obsessed with particular desires that may lead to moral and social decadence, destruction of family values. So these four Purushartha, as is shown in the picture, is balance in the human life. They make life rewarding and with enriching experiences. They cater to the spiritual and material aspiration of human beings and lead them to the right direction on the path of liberation. Without any particular aim or desire, detached seeks to establish the four main aims in the entire manifest. So it is balanced in all social, physical, professional, pleasure, mental, spiritual, emotional, and the material life. Now, as we all know that Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh are the creators, highest and supreme aim of all. So, worshipping Brahma, we can gain the knowledge of Dharma and perform our obligatory duties with precision and perfection. By worshipping Vishnu, we can gain the material and spiritual wealth and work for the welfare of our families and society. And by worshipping Shiva, we can seek the fulfillment of desires, overcome our delusions, and finally, by pursuing Brahman on any of these gods as Brahman, we can achieve the liberation by becoming Brahman himself. Now, what are goals of human life? Having been born as human, there are two types of goals that we need to strive to accomplish. The first one is to live your life in such a way that no living being is hurt by you, and you spend your time in the company of those who promote the attainment of self and vicinity of the good human being and avoid bad company, that is kusanga, as much as possible. And this should be our aim of life. And the second goal is to break the bondage of life after life. This human life is for attaining the eternal liberation from the bondage of karma. And it is for the purpose of becoming absolute, full enlightened to acquire self-realization if you happen to meet a living. So Pratyaksha Jnani Purush, one who is fully realized the self and is able to impart knowledge of self to the others, attain self-realization from him and remain in his satsang. So with him, all our goals of our life is accomplished, all puzzles will be solved and will attain liberation. So ego, ego death, enlightenment, samadhi and nirvana are another words for moksha. Thank you.